Hi guys, welcome back to Cupcakes and Protein Shakes. I am your host Savannah, and today we're doing another episode of Bikini Girl Chit Chat. So I have a fellow bikini competitor, and we're gonna just get to know a little bit more about you and your story. So introduce yourself, your name, your age, and where you're from.
Okay, so my name is Monica Reeves. I am from Arkansas. I recently did my first show. I did the St. Louis Pro Am, and I actually competed in figure and physique.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I am a personal trainer, so I train at a gym in my hometown. And I made that transition at the first of this year. So I was training part-time for a while, and it's something that I fell in love with doing. So I was just like, you know what? Leap of faith. Let's go full-time with this. And it's been the best experience.
Okay, cool. We'll get into that in just a second, but I want to talk about your show experience. So you've done one competition this far? Okay.
Yes.
And how was it? How did you place? How'd it go?
It was the greatest experience of my entire life. Like everything leading up to the show that I was worried about, like, especially like having been my first one, like you worry you're going to get nervous, you're going to trip, you're going to fall, you're going to forget something, you're going to do something silly, your posing routines are going to fall apart. Um, and none of that happened. Like I never got nervous. I never started shaking. I never got scared. I just got up there and I was like, you know what? This is my stage. This is my day. There's nobody else here. It's just me. Doesn't matter, and I just got up there, and I mean, you can tell from the pictures, like just the biggest smile on my face. It just felt so natural to be up there, figure and physique. Like I loved the sexy femininity of being in the heels and all of those things. And then physique, like doing you get the 60-second posing routine, and like the whole experience was just wonderful. Um, I was really surprised that, I didn't get shaky. I really I anticipated getting there and looking at all the other girls and like thinking to myself, what the heck are you doing? Like, you should not be here. But I didn't. I mean, none of that happened. And all of the girls were super sweet. And, my coach didn't get to come. He had somewhere else he had to be. And that I was a little concerned, but he was on top of everything, checking in with me every 5 seconds, pictures, all the things. And so, but because it was my first show and I was there and he wasn't there, all the girls, they just helped me. They kind of took me in and, told me what to do, where to be. And it was wonderful.
Awesome.
It was wonderful.
Did you place?
I did. So I did pure novice and physique, and I took first. And then physique open in my class, I took second. And then figure open, which figure was not my main, like it wasn't what I had originally planned to do. I was going for physique. And then 3 weeks out, I was like, you know what, let's just do it. All the stage time that I can get for my first show. So I hadn't been practicing figure posing, and my posing wasn't great. But I placed third in open. So I didn't do anything for figure. I just did open, and
Okay.
I got third.
So it's super interesting, okay, because I have a lot of first-time competitors. They're like, how do I know which division to go into? And could you maybe speak to that, like that decision kind of like last minute, what initially like made you like want to jump into another category? And then do you feel like you have a better idea of where you should stay going forward for like which division you belong in?
I honestly only going to be suitable for physique. So that was originally why I decided to go that direction. But as we started cutting and I started getting more lean, like my waist came in and my back just started popping out. And that's what they're looking for in physique, is that, like the small waist, big lats, and, I just asked my coach, I was like, do you think it would be silly for me to kind of like do a crossover? And he was like, no, absolutely, let's do it, And he said the same thing, the more stage time you get, because it goes so fast. And he said the more stage time you get, even if you don't place at this point, it's still going to be more experience for you moving forward. He said, you're just diving in, getting your feet wet. And so the more exposure you have, the more feedback we get, all of
Yeah.
those things. So
Yeah.
that's why we decided to do both. The experience of each of those I enjoyed so much, but moving forward, I think my focus is going to be physique, just because I'm going to take the time to grow a little bit more into it. But I enjoyed the posing routine, like the stage time that you get there. Although, like that 60-second routine, you only do at finals. So you don't do that at prejudging. And I don't know that it has very much bearing on like who's winning, but you get to take that on stage and you get to run through it and it's just fun. And then like I want to grow. I want more, muscle tone and definition. And so I feel like kind of the place that I want to be for me is not going to fit well into the other divisions. I think that like one of the things I had too much kind of quad definition, like too much conditioning for figure. Because they want more, a little, I mean, like they want development in figure, but they want a little more fullness on the lower side. And so I think I'm already a little bit too far ahead of for figure. So I think I'm gonna fit better in physique.
Yeah, so it's like important to like if you're a first time competitor, just like do as many classes as you can sign up for the true novice, the open, the masters, whatever, as much stage time as you can, because after you start to do well, I got to go on one time in open. That's it. So it's really hard when, like for me, I had to get nationally qualified. So my first time on stage, every single person in my class had already been on like 5 times. So I was kind of like a little nervous, and they're kind of, this is my 5th time out on the stage. So as much as you can, like literally go into it and just do as many classes as you can, because as you start to go up, you kind of can't go into the true novice, and then once you win the novice, you can't go back into the novice, so then you're stuck in open and it gets super competitive.
Yes. And I kind of thought about it too, like, you've already invested everything that you've invested up to that point. You it makes all the sense in the world just to invest a little bit extra to enter, crossovers and have more stage time. Just because the experience, so much fun. You want all the stage time. So the more you do, the more you get to enjoy that whole process. Because I mean, literally, you spend, I did a 20-week prep, but 20 weeks, 16 weeks, and you're like all amped up for it. And then it's over. Like, seriously, you blink your eyes and it's over.
It's fast, and I tell everyone that. And I'm like, it is fast. It goes every single time I do it. I'm like, I've done it 7 times. Every single time I start a prep, I'm like, enjoy your prep, enjoy your off season, because the second you get to show day, in a second of an eye, there's so many things going on. It's like hair, makeup, backstage, wait around, then you're on, then you're off, then it's like, it's so busy that you need to just like enjoy that buildup. So where are you at now? Are you in off season? Are we doing another show this year? What are you doing?
I was actually going to do another show this season, but after my show, I was just so excited. It was a pro-am, so I met several pros, and I watched their routines. I watched their stage presence, and seeing like their development and all of those things. Like my mindset transitioned from this is something I want to do for fun to okay, this is something that I really enjoy. Like I feel like this is what I am supposed to be doing. So let's take it seriously. Let's let's take the time off, bring something to the stage that I feel confident, my coach feels confident that like, okay, this is a winning package rather than just doing the shows for the experience. So I am going to take the rest of this year and I will dive into as many shows as I can next season.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
the plan.
Okay. That's good, because like I've talked to so many competitors and I'm like, you know what? Like do one, even if you're not ready. And then that can give you so much. Just do it and then get your feedback and then decide, hey, if you're close and you're ready, you can keep going. But it's like so beneficial to just get on stage almost before you're even ready or like, ready to place. And then now you get to see the competitors. So like doing a pro-am show, you got to see, oh, this is where I'm at. This is where they're at. There's this gap. And now you're kind of like, I understand why I need time off, and I'm excited to get there and like keep going. Cause it's super fun to kind of like start to be like, okay, like I got to get there if they got there. And you start to get into your off season instead of just kind of being like, yeah, I'm just gonna get leaner and do another show. And a lot of times, like I think my first prep, I thought I was gonna make crazy improvements in like 3 months, and I'm like, that's not enough time. Yeah. Okay. So walk me through, what is your background? Like, did you always do sports growing up, or how did you find the sport of bodybuilding?
No, actually, I was not athletic at all. I so I actually started my fitness journey at 320 pounds.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Okay.
yes.
Wow.
So I have 3 children. And when I was pregnant with my third child, my ex and I decided to separate. Um, is that I was a stay-at-home mom. I didn't have a job, hadn't worked in 3 years. And everything I did up to that point was business. My majors were in business, and I was a business manager before I decided to take time off to be with my kids. Um, so at that point, I was overweight, I was unhealthy. And because of that, those were the things that kind of flushed my marriage down the toilet, lack of confidence, just going from being, you know, decently, not necessarily in shape because I wasn't athletic, but I wasn't heavy. And it happened. So it ruined my confidence. And, when you get to that point, you kind of feel like, okay, this is it. This is just what I'm going to have to deal with forever. And I was just in that mindset. It was, depression. I was not the best version of me, not the best mom, definitely not a good wife. um, so when we separated, I had to go back to work. And I started going to the gym. Didn't know what to do. Had no clue. But I was just like, okay, I'll go get on the treadmill, and I'll walk a mile. And eventually that mile turned into 2, and that turned into, okay, what else can I do? And literally, I would go in the gym day after day, and I would squat. Like, I would just do squats because I was like, okay, I know how to do that. So that's where it started. And I started at Planet Fitness. That's just where I started going. And I just I just went by myself, and then I met a few people at my work that were training at a different gym in town, and they convinced me to kind of come check it out and switch over. And this gym that's local, there's a lot of competitors that train there. And of course, when I started going there, I still had a little bit of weight to lose. And it was not something I ever thought that I could do. But I went to a couple of shows, like supporting friends and things like that. But I worked with trainers. I just kind of fell in love with the process, and I was like, I want to absorb all of the information that I can. Like, I want to know all the things. I want to know, physiology. I want to know about the muscles, and I want to know like what's contracting, what's pulling what direction. Like I kind of became a sponge. So I decided to take my personal training certification, and then I started training part time. And then I was like, okay, let's take this full time, But while I was kind of going through my fitness and, I lost the weight, but then I fell in love with like, okay, muscles. Like, this is cool. Let's see what this is about. Um, I was working as a wellness coach at a pharmacy, and I helped develop a weight loss program. There were people that came in and they would lose 200 pounds, 100 pounds. Some just needed to lose 20 pounds. But it spoke to me, it was close to my heart because I had been through that. And people would come in and you would just hear their stories. And, some people would come in emotional and, almost desperate. They're like, I don't know what to do. I can't keep living like this. And it touched me because I've been there, and I've been at that place where it's like, there's nothing that's going to fix this. And I just, I just really wanted to be able to kind of reach back and offer a hand to everyone and like support and encouragement and just be a little bit of inspiration that said, you're not stuck. I know that you feel like there's nothing you can do to come out of this, but let's, let's do it together. I can show you, I can help you, and I'll walk with you every step of the way. So that's kind of where I started. Um, and then I fell in love with nutrition, fitness nutrition, what foods make your body work, what way, what is this energy, what is this fuel, what can we do to help kind of shape and mold and make us more efficient in the way that we're going to be expending our energy and all of those things. So then I just became obsessed with like digestion, like what can we do to optimize nutrient uptake and all of those things. So it was like it just kind of snowballed. Like I would get obsessed and like laser vision and focused on one thing, and then it would lead into the next. And like, what is the next piece of information that I can obtain? And then I finally, my fiance did a show, his first show, and like being with him, going through that with him, that was it was just a wonderful experience. And then after he did it, I was like, okay, maybe I can. Like he's always been my biggest supporter. I mean, he has so much faith in me. And um he helps me believe that I could do it.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, let's do it. Um and so that led me to, you know, a more broadened horizon of what I want to do. Like I fell in love with that process. And obviously I'm gonna keep doing shows. And um I just it's so cool to me that you realize there are no limits. That like that's one of the biggest things through this entire journey is realizing like there are no limits to anything. Like I started in this place and I went here and here and here and it just keeps going. Like there are so many things and not just like fitness and bodybuilding and competition and life in general. Like
Yeah.
so many of us just live in a box because we don't know any different. And I've just found a whole new world of endless possibilities.
Yeah.
Like if I want to go be like an acrobat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something silly, like whatever you want to do, you can do it. So
Yeah. I love your story. And I just want to make sure that like, like how inspired you give me, like your story inspires me. Like that's a huge accomplishment. Like going from, like not being able to take care of your health to like turning your life over, and like that's going to help like your kids, and like it's going to impact a lot of people in your life. And so just I'm very proud of you, and I love that you're able to like give back to the fitness community. So that's exactly like why I do the podcast, and like I want people to be inspired and just realize like there is no rules to life. And if you do feel like you're not in shape and you're not healthy and you're just not happy with where you are, it is all in here. Once you start to look for ways of like things can go right for you, like why not me? Why can't I start? Like, it's one workout, one treadmill, one rep, asking for someone's help, like one question, like little things
yes,
add up, and they start to just like you will see the glass half full instead of half empty. And that's what this sport is about, and it really attracts that type of people like who really want to get better. And fitness can change lives. Bodybuilding is, people get to see the amazing transformation that's flashy, and that's great, and they want it for, I want to look like that. But the internal work that you have to do to get to the goal and get to the stage, nothing else compares to what you have to do to like battle through hunger and like tell yourself, I have to go do this. Like I have to do my cardio. No one's telling me to do it. I have to. No one's watching me not eat this brownie, but I have to not eat it. So like once
yeah,
you go through a prep and you have a goal and a timeline and a date, and you work for like weeks and weeks and weeks, you just start applying that of like, what else can I do? If I can, accomplish this huge goal, like what else? What else? And so it's a really fun journey
yeah.
that, you have to experience it to understand. And so if you're thinking about doing a show, you should do a show because it does impact your life.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, people people that don't understand or don't really, they think that it's about physical appearance. They do, but it has nothing to do with physical appearance. And I had some people tell me, people would comment on social media like, "Oh, you looked better before. You look sick. Are you okay?" And I mean, and there was a point in prep where I was like, "Okay, I don't like the way I look right now. I kind of look like I'm dying." And I know everyone there, like, it's not about the physical transformation that you're making. It is about the discipline. Is so empowering. I mean, one small thing at a time, like cardio, like you could be in tears, like, I don't want to do this. This is the last
Yeah.
thing I want to do. I don't have the energy to do this. I can't do this. I want to quit. And then you do it. And then you realize like you are stronger than mentally, spiritually. It's the most empowering thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
I mean, just getting to the finish line,
Yeah.
period. And that was my thought process, when I would get kind of like negative, feedback from social. And I just never engaged it, but that's just in my head. I'm like, this has nothing to do with a physical transformation. I mean, you're bringing a physical transformation package to a stage, but it is all about, you know, the mindset, the connection you have with it, learning that you're strong enough to push yourself and kind of, finding out what you're made of.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's incredible.
It is. It's a really fun thing too. And that's why it's like I'm addicted to it and I don't care anymore. I think at the beginning, I didn't want to tell people I was doing it because I didn't want them to be like, you're gonna get all huge and why are you doing that? And so I would try to like hide my meal prep containers and I'd hide my gallon. I'd like put my gallon into a small cup and like I'd bring it. I was in college, so I'd like bring it and then like put it on the floor and then I would just like sip my water and I felt so like conscious of others. And now I'm like, I don't give a two shits. Like,
Mhm.
here is my tilapia and fish. I'm going to stink up this whole room. I do not care
Yeah.
anymore. Same thing in the gym. I think at the beginning of my journey, I was like, I felt like everyone was watching me. And
Yeah.
then I realized no one
Oh my
cares.
goodness.
No one cares what you're doing if you don't know what you're doing. There's been times where I wanted to try a new equipment or a new move and I wasn't really sure how it works and I couldn't figure it out. And so I kind of like fail at it. And then I just kind of like look around and like, I hope no one saw that and just move on. But I tried it. Or sometimes, I'll try a new exercise on my plan and I'm not very good at it, but I just keep going through and keep going through. And so now I'm kind of like trying to experiment with different things. And it's so fun because like you can always, I don't know, you just really learn that it's a personal journey and the personal journey is like one with yourself. And sometimes placings will come and go, but if you just start to realize like this is you versus you, then it's super fun. The whole process of getting to the stage is so fun. I do want to talk a little bit about like stats though, just so they can get an idea of like where you were to where you are now. So I want to kind of go over like height and starting body weight and then what you ended up on stage. And then did you do macros and meal plans?
Okay, so starting weight, before we started the 20-week prep, I was 163. So um, we did, I want to say, like a 6-week, pretty intensive bulk when I decided to do the show. So I started at 163 before we started cutting. And then I went on stage at 135. um, and we did meal plan the entire prep. I want to say we started carb cycling 8 weeks out, so pretty early on, and we would go like protein veggies only, and then a carb day, like after check-in if you thought I needed it. So diet was pretty I mean, it was pretty like intense. I did 2-day cardios for most of prep. About 12 weeks out, it was one hit session of cardio and then one steady state cardio. And that went on until maybe 6 weeks out. And it was still 2 days, but it was both steady state. So I got up to an hour and a half total, I think. Did you ask me another question? I feel like you asked me another
I
question
think
that I didn't
that was
answer.
all. That was kind of what I was just wanting to know. So what was your meal plan consisted of? Is it just, you said protein, veggies, what kind of proteins?
Protein veggies. Yes, I did. I did do protein shakes all through until like a couple days before the show. I know a lot of times because they have like some artificial sweeteners or whatever, but we did do protein shakes all the way through prep. And then chicken, ground beef, green beans. It was great, I guess, because green beans are like a higher carb veggie. So when it was like no carb in the diet, it was a higher carb veggie. So green beans and ground chicken and white fish. So I got to choose the white fish, and I did. I did cod. That's the least fishy fish, and I'm not a huge fish person. So it was a white fish or shrimp, and that was what it was every day. And then now.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so for like everyone, I think everyone does a little different, like either you do macros or meal plans. And what does your off season look like right now?
So right after the show, we went into the reverse, and I just told him, I was like, I think, if we do macros for just a little while, obviously I'm not going to fill it in with like trash food. I'll keep it clean, but that'll give me kind of the wiggle room to curb cravings. So we did that at first, and it was 165 protein. We started with 165 protein, 120 carbs, and 40 fats. And then on non-workout days, I was doing 5 days on working on out and 2 days off. So on off days, I was doing 90 carbs. And so I would, kind of the same foods, rice, oatmeal, rice cakes, stuff like that. I would plug and play. And then I was still doing 6 days of cardio, 45 minutes every day, steady state. And then now we've increased food twice. I'm 4 weeks post show. So I'm up to 165 protein still. Which I had him, we did 3 weeks of macro. And then I told him, I was like, okay, I think I'm getting a little too comfortable. Like I'm throwing in maybe probably too many artificial sweeteners, things like that. I need to tighten it up. So let's go back to meal plan. And we did. So I don't know exactly what my macros are at now, but we had bumped up twice before we went back to meal plan.
Yeah. I think that it's a little bit hard. Like, have you struggled with like gaining weight back, or have you done a pretty good job of trying to maintain?
The 3 days after show, I actually ended up gaining. I did the thing, everyone says, don't do this yourself. I gained like 17 pounds in fluid, which it was just, I only did the post-show meal, and I had like a chicken sandwich and soft pretzels. But then that next day, I wanted like all the breakfast things. So I cooked the hash browns, the cheese grits, the breakfast or the biscuits and gravy. So I did that. And then traveling home that next day, I did road snacks like dark chocolate covered almonds and stuff like that. And then I had like a market sandwich for dinner. And then the next day I was right back to meal plan. So I didn't do anything super crazy, but my body is so prone to fluid retention. It is insane. So like my legs were like this big around. It was crazy. So I did that. But it took me like 2 days to get that out of there. And I was back down to almost stage weight. So I got back down to 139. And then I went in last Monday for a breast augmentation. So before that, I was up to 143. And since I've done that, I've got whatever implants weigh, and I've got like some fluid retention from them pushing IV fluids, and I've got a lot of inflammation. So I'm up to 149, but I don't know what actually my weight is at the moment.
Yeah.
So Thursday is my check-in day, and Thursday came around after Monday's surgery, and I was like, hey, coach, let's just skip this week. So next week, hopefully, like all the inflammation will be stabilized and I'll know where my weight's at. But I have been able to keep my weight stable. I didn't want to go like over 5 to 7 pounds over kind of stage weight. That's where I'm comfortable. And that's where I was holding at before surgery.
Okay, well,
But
this is like a can of worms you just opened. So, breast augmentation in the sport. Did you always want to get this done? And then what made you officially say yes?
I did actually want to get it done. Well, one, I've got 3 children, breastfed babies. So that takes it out of you. Also, losing as much weight as I did, there was actually nothing left. There was nothing going up here. It was just like nothing. So I knew that I wanted to have it done, but definitely making the decision to like compete and continue competing. I was just like, I have nothing to keep my suit on. And there was just nothing going on up there. And so that just kind of solidified, the decision, like, okay, do it. And then deciding that I was going to take this time for an off season, I was like, okay, I need to do this now so I can get through recovery and then focus on.
That is very interesting too. So like a lot of people are like, don't get boobs for this sport, and it gets brought up all the time. And I say, why not? Like it balances out your physique and it makes you feel confident filling out like a suit top.
I've heard so many people ask, like, do you think that it makes a difference in judging? Do you think that, yes, if you have them, you have a better shot at winning? Honestly, I've been to enough shows and I've seen enough shows and I've seen plenty of people win that have breast augmentation. I've seen plenty of people win that don't. I honestly don't think it. I mean, if someone were just considering breast augmentation because they're competing, I would say if that's the only reason, it's not necessary because I've seen plenty of people win without them.
Yeah, I think so. You can always stuff your top, but there's a certain leanness that you get to where it's like nothing. And like, yeah, you get all lean and you're like, I look good everywhere else except for up here. Now it's like flat, flat, flat. So I used
That
to,
was one of the things that I worried about. Like, you have to go in and you're tanning and, you're going to be butt naked in front of everyone else. And I'm like, well, I don't want anyone to see this. But then you get there and you realize like these girls they're just like you.
yeah.
We all have the things that we're like, man, I'm so flawed, XYZ. And then you look at this girl and I'm like, she looks phenomenal. There's no way I can't compete with her. But like you go in with all these things that you're worried about and you get there and you're like, everyone else is just, they're just like you. They're, you know, we all have our things. And that's what I loved about it, just getting there and not feeling like this thing about my body makes me like I can't compete because of this. Like there was nothing about the experience that made me feel.
So what other advice do you have, like, or for maybe for first time competitors like that are prepping right now, like what advice do you have to give them?
Number one, I think, and I had gone through show prep with my fiance, but his wasn't as intense. I feel like I underestimated the amount of time that it was going to take. Workouts are 2.5 to 3 hours, and then you're doing almost every day. You've got your fasted session, so you have to get up regardless of, if your day at work is starting early. For me, some days it was 5 a.m. clients, and I'd have to do 45 minutes of cardio before that, or I couldn't eat and I'm starving the entire time. Different things like that. And then if you have kids, you're a full-time mom, you're a full-time employee. So with show prep and at the same time, I was starting a business. So, which all of that, that's just, that's just part of it. You've got to figure out how to work all of the things you've got to do into the day, and you're going to be low energy. Um, but that's doable. That's manageable, right? What I struggled with, I think, was I underestimated that. And I was overwhelmed a lot of the time, and I was more cranky than I should have been. Like, I was stressed. I just was. Um, and I don't want to be that person, at all, because I'm not like I'm I'm usually very positive, and I bring good energy, and I want to be someone that people want to be around, you know, and I feel like I just became, obviously not at work, you still have to bring good energy to like your clients and stuff when you're having sessions at the gym and stuff like that. But like at home with my fiance, we never fight. Like we don't, we just get along so well. But when I was in prep, like I bit his head off about everything. And you kind of go through this period where you're like, don't touch me, get away from me. Like I can't fathom, you know. So, and I even got to the point where I was like that with my kids. I had to force myself to like hug them and be soft and gentle, because when you're so, everything is intense and you're amped up a lot of times on fat burners, so you're like go, 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 go all the time. The thing that I wish I would have done differently in my first prep was, and you actually helped me with this in one of your podcasts, like, don't take it so seriously. It's just prep, like, and I'm diehard. Like when I start doing something, it is all I see. I'm gonna hit everything, cross every T. Like I'm not gonna miss anything. But I'm also a mom, and I'm also a trainer, and I'm also a fiance. All of those things kind of took a back seat. And I prioritized in a manner that, okay, what do I have to do? And I knew show prep was like, I'm going to nail this. You know what I mean? So everything was show prep.
Yeah.
And I didn't see my family. I didn't make time for phone calls with them because I didn't have time. So that's the biggest thing I would say.
Yeah.
Yes, it is important. Like you have to nail all variables. You've got to be on point, but don't like be so caught up in it that you forget you have a life outside of that.
Yeah.
Especially if you plan to do this long term, because then you have nothing else. And if you're not happy, like there was a point in prep where I enjoyed prep. Like all I wanted to do was train and eat my food and do my cardio and sleep. And that's what I enjoyed. But I have to be able to give to the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So, it can't be all consuming.
Yeah.
It's the biggest thing.
That is something it took me a long time to realize, because I'm like, once I was feeling so motivated in the prep and I was consumed and I wanted
Yeah.
to, I literally, that was my new life. I said, I'm not having any distractions. I'm not
Yes.
going out. I'm saying, no, I don't have time to hang out with you. I have to go to the gym. If it was mildly inconvenient, nope, I have prep here. Everybody else, whatever, like, pshoo, over there. And I did that for a few years. And they started to resent me for it. And I was like, I don't want them to associate this like negative person that they don't like to be around with prep.
Mhm.
Like, I want them to see this and be like, yes, we love when you're prepping, you're a good person. So I told myself, I was like, I can't continue to do this for the rest of my life if we're going to do it this way. I have to do a life of balance that prioritizes my social relationships, because at a certain point I was hermiting myself in my house waiting to train, pretty much.
Yes.
Literally, that's what I was doing. It was like, I don't want to even have the distractions of food. So I'm going to just take myself away from the social distractions, because it might be hard for me to be around the food. So I just took myself out of the equation. I stopped getting invited to things. I stopped having friends. I stopped having all these like very important life things. And, it was just about the show. And then once the show was over, I kind of took a step back and was like, I was crazy. I was like, that was crazy. Like that was crazy. Like I was a crazy person. And your brain doesn't think and calculate things correctly on prep because you think like you can't think. You literally can't. You're just like so low hunger that you're just like least like whatever's easiest. And it does sometimes it doesn't make sense. Like something as simple as like, hey, let's spend 30 minutes hanging out together. Okay, maybe that means I wake up a little bit earlier, or, you know, my rest day I was going to have that was convenient for me. I can move it around. That way we have a date night that's convenient or something like that. So I've really, really, really tried to preach that just because, you know, it's, if you're going to do this for a long time, it's not worth all, like, it's not worth the just doing it. Like, yes, you might win and get a trophy, but at the end of the day, if there's no one in the audience to support you with that trophy is a piece of plastic and it means nothing. So I'm very, very happy that you felt that way. And I think that's a great place to kind of take this podcast. But I do want to let you have last words. So last advice, and then I will ask you one more question.
My last advice is, and I hear this from other people all the time, but if at all possible, I know that anyone competing for the first time is just a bundle of nerves. You're worried about everything. You're afraid you're going to mess something up, or your suit's going to break, or anything silly. That honestly, there's nothing to worry about. Like, whatever happens, even if it's some malfunction, like, it's going to be fixed and the show is going to go on. And if you get up on the stage and you miss something in your posing or anything, it's okay. It's okay. And you'll worry yourself to death thinking something terrible is going to happen. And then you just take away from being in that experience. I'm so glad that all the nerves and all the worries and all the fears that I had leading up to the show, I just left them backstage. I'm so grateful that that's the way that it went for me. And I would just hope that any first time competitor could do the same thing. Just leave it all backstage. You're going to have all the fears leading up to it, but just go on stage. You've worked your butt off for it. It does not matter what happens when you get up there. Bring everything that you have, the best that you have, the best smile that you have, the best energy that you have, and be proud of yourself, regardless of who else is on stage, regardless of, whatever you think you should have done differently. You're there. You're in that moment. You can't change anything, and you deserve to enjoy every second on that stage. So, just let it all go. Let it all go on show day and give it everything you've got.
Love that. Okay. And then the most fun, important question is, are you team cupcake or are you team protein shake?
Probably team cupcake, but I wouldn't have said that before the show. Post show, all the cupcakes, please.
Yeah. And then if you could be, okay, so what would you like, if you were a cupcake, what would you be?
Like a funfetti cupcake with lots of sprinkles and all the colors.
Yes.
Very intense.
Yes, I love it. Awesome. Okay. And then, so if anyone wants to find you on social media or work with you, where can they do so?
Instagram, it's mlyn.r20, and TikTok is mlynfit. And those are the only two platforms that I really use at all, but Instagram and TikTok.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing your story with us and coming on today. I hope
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And